Yo, what's up, Cokes?
What's going on?
How you doing? I'm Drew
I'm doing
Breez.
pretty good. How you doing?
I'm trying to like contain myself because I'm so excited about this discussion. Like
Yes. Wow. So this
I'm
was a
a
this was a week, wasn't it?
for real. Like I didn't know. Like I'm a writer and
Hmm.
cultural critic or whatever, but I feel particularly passionate about this one. So
Okay.
I hope we can really dive into all the layers of it. But yeah, I'm Drew Breez.
Absolutely.
Koku Puff, please let them know.
Yes, my name is Koku Puff, and I'm so excited to be here today. Let's get into all these topics. We've got a lot. This week just came with like a intense bang.
Like rah, just
So much
spraying,
going on. So
spraying
much
all
going
across
on
the
all
room.
over the world. Hmm.
Um,
Let's get it started, Drew.
I mean, all right, so Kelis is
Hmm.
like really clapping, like
Yeah.
she's letting it spray on release day of all days on
Hmm.
Beyonce because of, I mean, I know that there's a nitty gritty to this, and
Hmm.
I'll let you get into that a little bit more. But what it seems like is that like Beyonce used some portion of Kelis's performance on a song without letting Kelis know personally. Although Kelis is credited on the now released Renaissance, Beyonce's latest studio album. But Kelis is very upset about that, about not being contacted for credit. It being authorized, right? Like it's definitely credited on the album, like I said,
Hmm.
but um apparently not accepted, authorized but not approved, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, which simply means that it was authorized from a legal standpoint. That seems to be the case. Obviously, Beyonce would not move in any other kind of way, but just from a standpoint of, I guess, respect or courtesy, Kelis is feeling some type of way because I mean, listen, Kelis, as we know her to be, she doesn't seem to be somebody that's like super into like being, into the spotlight as much right
Mhm.
now. She's in a very different phase of her life. She doesn't seem particularly interested in celebrity in the same way that she may have done in her youth. But at the same time, just because you view Beyonce the way that you do, or many people do, does not mean that Kelis is not a phone call away. They have a relationship, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. But it ain't like Beyonce doesn't know who Kelis is, and vice
Well,
versa.
we might need to
Mhm.
get to that part first, because it's
Yeah.
like, what is their relationship like, and why? Okay, why would Kelis be expecting a call based on how that relationship has gone? Because it doesn't seem to me like they're friends or even homies or associates.
I think if anybody were to give this just a little bit more depth and thought, you have to realize that a lot of this also kind of, well, think about the era in which Kelis would have been involved in Beyonce's life in any capacity. And
Mm.
that would be around the time when there was a contentious relationship between Jay and Nas, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So it would seem to me, because that's naturally what a person would do, is a lot of times it's very stand by my man type of thing,
Yes.
and maybe, again, this is all conjecture, this doesn't mean this is what it was. Maybe there were things around that sort of world and what happened that were not favorable to Kelis and Nas, because regardless of whatever their relationship is now, they were also husband and wife.
Yes, they were.
Mhm.
And
And they have a child, so they are a family as well,
right,
so
right,
that
absolutely.
matters. Mhm.
And here's the thing about it too, like there's some little known like wrinkles about Beyonce and Nas. So like if you Google
Mhm.
Beyonce and Nas right now, you will
Mhm.
not find pictures of them together, which I
Right.
find at least a little odd, right? Like I
Right.
mean, like just based on the fact that they're both celebrities, they
Right.
both have made their come up. Beyonce during the Destiny's Child days.
Yeah.
Nas was already obviously quite famous by that point, but Beyonce and Destiny's Child appear in the "You Owe Me" video,
Mhm.
and yet there are no photographs of Beyonce and Nas together, which I don't know, in the year 2022, where Google has everything, I find that curious, at
Mhm.
least, right?
Mhm.
And we know that both Jay-Z and Beyonce, as we've touched on the show before, they're
Mhm.
kind of a different level of power, right? Like a
Yes.
different level of like consideration and thought into how they appear in the public and what is knowable about them. And so I just find that very strange, to say the least, that there are no pictures of Beyonce and Nas on Google's first page of search. What do you make of it?
So yeah, I think that a lot of times when there's nothing, there's something. Where there's smoke, there's fire. So that's definitely something to think about. And what that means, I don't know. I will say this. You just made a point that, you know, when you reach a level of fame that is Jay-Z and Beyonce, that is something that is completely immeasurable by any of our just whatever we can conceptualize, whatever we can feel, whatever we can know. There is not a place on the planet, even in the most remote island, where somebody's going to say who when it comes to Beyonce and Jay-Z. I mean, unless you were like on the Sentinelese Island, if you could make it there, you would not know who these people. I mean, you would not know anybody who didn't know who these people were.
Right.
And they've had a way, which is pretty unique to what today's world is, where they have been so insulated. And outside of like the elevator incident, right, where somebody just kind of leaked something that was, we were sort of there was a very unexpected moment. We don't know what Beyonce's favorite breakfast is. I don't think anybody's even probably heard her talk outside of a stage in maybe like a decade. We just don't really know much about her, which I think yeah, exactly. We won't. It's a very, very specific kind of thing. But I think that I don't know how healthy it is when you live in a world like that, or what becomes of someone that it lives in this type of bubble. But I will say this, it's a theory that I came up with, and I wonder what you'll think about this.
Okay.
So I know that right now, Kelis experienced a very, very recent loss, a very recent heartbreak. Her husband passed away. And when I think about
Mike Mora, I think his name is.
Yes. You know, that's so sad, you know?
Yeah.
And I think when I think about celebrities and the missteps that they make and what they think is appropriate for a moment, I think to myself, like, it would not surprise me if, just in the way that Beyonce put out the TikTok videos showing fans dancing to her song, it would not surprise me if maybe she thought it was appropriate to lend a credit to Kelis to sort of as a way of like sending flowers as opposed to making a phone call. Like that to me sounds pretty much tracks with what someone that does not have typical human interactions.
Like, take some crumbs, peasant.
I mean, it's kind of like that's Beyonce giving you, you know, the flowers in the card because it's a guaranteed bag, because, you know, it's hard for people to realize, but there are people in this world who do not believe that money is everything. There are many people in this world. I don't for a second, I'm not under the impression that Kelis is motivated by finances. I don't think so at all. She does seem like someone that's more or less more motivated by principles. And she's always in her entire career just been a very, very unique presence and just been kind of different, but in a good way. Like she had such a unique way of expressing herself that I do think, you know, which you could speak to a little bit more, but, you know, Kelis in many, many ways has been mimicked and has been a blueprint for a lot of things because she spoke on a lot of things. She's been kind of getting stuff out. So
I mean, that's more than relatable. I mean, Beyonce has basically been like, you know, take some shekels, commoner. Like I felt like even with your theory being possibly right, like, I mean, giving her credit on what we would call like a small portion of a song, which Beyonce has done. But I don't want to blow that out of proportion because Beyonce has also been connected to some thievery, some like artistic borrowing that is uncredited. And so we can't overlook that. And when you say that Kelis isn't motivated by money, we know that's actually in direct opposition to Beyonce and Jay-Z, who are constantly dropping like billionaire references and like what's better than one billionaire too, and like they're very much like Black billionaires are the road to freedom, Wakanda forever. And I feel like that when you peel back just a layer of that, it's actually complete bullshit, because they want to run with the Black empowerment, like African imagery, like Black is beautiful, while also using this tool and this system that has classically and historically oppressed Black people, right? And I think that is what Kelis is speaking to, because she's like, you know, you come with this message of like, you know, I'm a womanist and like girl power. And like, you know, Kelis is about that too. She got bossy,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
Kelis is about all that messaging, but she's like, yeah, I'm actually about it though. Like, I don't do that to sell t-shirts and to sell merch and like, and, you know, like ugly bra tops and crop tops via my brand. And I think that is the part of Beyonce that even if you don't get that outside portion, you don't get those off the cuff interviews, you don't see her on social media posts that she didn't sanction, like you see in those actions of like kind of like condescending and pushing away Kelis with the credit, that she's not really about that message, right? Like that empowerment message, I feel like it falls very flat when it's like, okay, like you have Big Freedia on the song, and then after like kind of public pressure, then you were like, oh, okay, my bad. Like, I realize this person is a cultural symbol and I need to compensate them appropriately, like, as opposed to doing that first. And I think that is the part about Beyonce that always kind of like left a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I don't think Homegirl music is trash or nothing like that. I don't have nothing to say for the Hive. Like, I don't have anything to say for that. Like, that's
the
great.
Hive is gonna come for you.
They can, you know what I'm saying? They can, they have before, you know what I mean? Like,
the Hive is
cool.
activated.
That's great. They're gonna be super triggered. And like, you know, the timeline goes crazy when she drops a record, like cool. Everything is everything with that. But I think when you purport yourself to be, especially in this Black thing, like especially in the turn that Beyonce has made over the last like 5-ish years, right? Where Black protest for human rights has actually become a popular commercial product, and she's central to how that's happened. And I find that to be very conflicting and like ew, like it feels ill to me. I don't know.
You know, there's another side to this too, because I'm just trying to think of different theories. It is possible, right? Because I think one of the things that Kelis was also speaking to was that, you know, she feels like a lot of her publishing and her credits were stolen, because she said it in her reel, she was also saying that, you know, she wrote this stuff and she wasn't properly credited, or credits were taken from her and were co-credited when it was her actual work that was being used. So I kind of wonder if, again, and this to me, it kind of speaks to the installation of celebrity or the awkwardness of people not having like really strong relationships with people, is that was she the one that said, hey, throw Kelis's name on this, even though she doesn't legally own the song or whatever, because I want her to get this publishing? Like, was that her girl power maneuver when she didn't necessarily have to do it? And I just, you know, so like maybe Beyonce, maybe Beyonce isn't necessarily the bad guy. She just didn't know how to be the good one in this.
No, that's an excellent
theory to think about.
No, that's definitely an excellent theory. And like, I don't want to only project my cynicism about capitalism onto Beyonce, right? Like even though she works very much like the Rockefellers and the captains of industry of yore, like she doesn't necessarily have to be that, just because, like, you know, she could also just be like a young woman from Houston who made it big through hard work, like all that great stuff. And like, she's not maybe all that queen monarchy messaging is just a coincidence, right? Like, it's just part of the empowerment structure, that package and the image. But here's the thing, like, I think that you're right that there are wrinkles to that, like that Beyonce could be doing something that's really corrective in that regard. The problem I guess I have is more with Beyonce's audience, like her loyalists. Like, have you noticed that even in this discussion, mad people have become like IP lawyers and like music industry experts, and like, well, she didn't own the publishing, and like, well, technically, like, and it was like, word, technically, like, you don't own anything. Like, you, like, do you own your house? Like, do you own, like, what do you own the rights to be talking about like the rights to things? And I feel like, just as a creator and an artist, I feel Kelis, because it's like, it's the game's already set up for you not to be able to own anything you do creatively. Like anything you do, like, and I speak from personal experience here. Like, I'm a cog in the wheel at best in terms of what media and creative careers I've had, right? But I shit you not, like, one of the first big media jobs I had, which was at a multinational conglomerate doing like social media, doing creation for them. And it wasn't like I was writing TV shows. It wasn't like I was executive producing work yet, but they had me sign a contract that was like anything that I do creatively that they had first rights to. So like any idea I had, even as an employee working at the behest.
That sounds like a record deal.
Right. Like these 360s, right? And like, I don't know. I just feel like people dying on that hill is so weird to me. Like, why do you want to back ownership? I mean, this be the same crowd that's like, you know, defund the police and like Black Lives Matter, like all that stuff. But then when Beyonce or someone similar of a similar stature like steals some shit or doesn't really properly credit or appropriate their stuff, it's like, oh, well, you know, she had the rights to it and her publishing rights say differently. And if you look at the clause A, section C, and I'm like, nah, like you can't have it both ways where you're clapping at the institutions that kill us and maim us. But when one of ours does something that, you know, uses those institutions, you want to be like chest out in the comments about how, yeah, but she didn't own the rights to it. And I'm like, nah, like, what do you own your name? Like, do you even own your actual name? Yeah, it's just so very weird to me when people do that.
I just think it's really mean and nasty. And a lot of times, you know, that's why I said, like, you know, people just have like cheerleading, you know, no one ever, there's never any thought to it. It's automatically like, like everybody's always very pick a side. And I'm just like, well, what is this person really saying? And you know, is it really agenda based? I don't for any reason think that with Kelis, it's agenda based. I thought that she had a very valid, you know, frustration with this. Right. And again, when you are someone like Beyonce, I mean, Beyonce could get to anybody. Like within 15 minutes from now, you know, people in black suits could be at my door knocking. And like, did you just mention Beyonce? Like she literally is that powerful.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've had that happen. I have a story. Like I have a story. Like I've had that happen where
is it story time?
Yo, I think it's story time because I'm gonna be real. All the names will be changed, you know, to protect the innocents from the black bag suits that come to you when you diss Beyonce. But there was a time some years ago, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember when. What was the one with Formation on? Was Lemonade, right? That was that album, right?
Was it Lemonade? Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time when, you know, at said multinational conglomerate company, I was working at the outlet that produces an award show. And I also was doing social media for them. And me and an editor there had an idea to do a Beyonce album review. And the editor came to me and she was like, yo, we was actually having a conversation in the office, and it was really great because like I had black coworkers, so it was so fun. Like we'd have a lot of these kind of like debates and ranking conversations just at work, and I was like, yo, like, but low key, I've been listening to Anti at the gym a lot, and like like Lemonade doesn't have the replay value that Anti has to me, and I was like Anti kind of slaps, so I was like Lemonade kind of like tails off at the end. And the music editor at the time was like, yo, you should write about that. And I was like, word? And she was like, yeah, you should write about that. And in fact, like, this is how we're going to do it. So we set up a column that could be published on said website from said multinational corporation about how Anti was a better album than Lemonade. But the way I was coming at it was, in fact, what this column will be used to do is pit Beyonce against Rihanna. Like I said that, I literally wrote that in the column while doing a music review of both albums and saying why I like one more than the other. But I was like, yeah, but because social media is crazy and rabid, this is what's going to happen when I say this. So I literally wrote it, like predicted it in the column.
You were prepared for the...
I was prepared for the hive, you know what I'm saying? They were swarming. And so it got published on the site that day. Within like 4 hours, it starts to circulate a lot. Within like 5 hours, you know, I'm getting people hit me up on like LinkedIn, like Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, like in my DMs with lemons, with bees, and like also coming at me, like retweeting, like, you know, trying to point at me like, yo, who is this person? And like attacking me. And I was like, okay, like, well, this is weird, right? So that's going on the public external side, right? Like as the audience gets to it. And a lot of people are actually like, you know what? He's not wrong. You know, like, so a lot of people are starting to respond to his creating conversation, but then internally, as said, multinational conglomerate corporation for media and award shows, I was starting to hear stirs from my boss at the time, who was a VP there. And he was like, yo, like that columnist is getting a lot of buzz, but he's like, I'm getting some pushback from the top. And I was like, what you mean?
wow.
He was like, we probably gonna have to take that down. And I was like, oh, word? He was like, yeah, like, so I leave work and head home. He calls me, the VP at the time, and he's like, yeah, I just got word from the president of the channel, of the network, and he was like, he wasn't pleased. You know, he wasn't pleased that we put that on the .com, and he felt like, you know, we undermined him. And I was like, what you mean? He was like, well, Beyonce, they're negotiating with her to make an appearance at the award show. And she basically was like, this puts a stop to those negotiations. Like that, like they were trying to, you know, negotiate like what kind of bag they were going to leave at Beyonce's doorstep. And because this was an award show that, like you said, she's famous. She don't have to go. You know what I mean? She don't have to perform at anything. She don't have to pull up at anything, no matter if it's for her people, right? Supposedly,
I mean, she's won major awards and not even done awards, what, and not been. Not only has she not been in attendance because she doesn't have to, she hasn't performed or anything like that, but she hasn't even given like a video. Hey, thanks for this major award. Yeah, sometimes it's just like you know, hey, on behalf of.
yeah. You know what I mean?
You don't have to, and I'm not. I'm just saying that's just a different type of respect level, and you know, it's a different level. So I'm not even saying that.
She sends her voiceovers for those awards. She's like, like record the message. You know what I mean? They take the article down, right? Like, so the website, take it down, like, and I was like, you know, I was a little stung by it because, you know, I was like, damn, Beyonce's people are so powerful that even a little peon, a little ant like me, writing an article that got traction on the internet, which was like, that was cool for me, that I was even putting an idea like that out there, that like, yo, we can't even have conversations about this shit because people turn it into pitting two Black women against each other, which I don't think is fair. And it's actually not accurate and doesn't allow us to engage in music or even conversation, the kind of things that we love to do in the barbershop.
We love to.
Like that's what we love to do. So like we had that taken away, you know what I mean? And I was like, that's weird that she also participates in that thing, in her wanting to control, like she is the queen, you know what I'm saying? Like in every possible way too, like she's not just the queen, she's not a benevolent ruler, you know what I'm saying? Like she's a queen that she'll shut it down. If she needs to, she'll shut it down. She'll make sure you have nothing to eat. And so I was definitely like shocked and surprised by how far that reach goes when you're that powerful. But it also, to your point, is like, she could have called Kelis, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
She could have called Kelis.
I mean, they know each other. You know, these are not people that don't know each other at all. So I do understand what Kelis is saying in that. And I think it's just really unfortunate when people just assume that everybody wants the same thing. And assumes that just by someone just simply standing up for themselves or just inquiring about whatever the purpose was behind something, you know, why didn't you call me kind of thing? Or, you know, why wasn't I told? I mean, Kelis literally said, I found out at the same time that you guys did. Right. You know, she was very shocked by everything. So, I mean, I can imagine like you were getting these phone calls. Imagine Kelis getting these phone calls. Like, congratulations, girl. I didn't know you was on Beyonce album. I didn't know either. You know?
Right, exactly. So, and she's not getting the compensation that she probably deserved for the portion that she contributed to it, right? Like whatever publishing rights that she had was already screwed over from the start.
You know, there's some people that their personalities are such where it's like, it's all or nothing. Like, I don't want that money at all if I can't get what I deserve. And it kind of sounds like that's where Kelis was at with it. Like, I don't even want to be paid. I don't want nothing to do with this. Like, erase this from the record. So, you know, that seems to be where she's at with it.
Now, I think the one part about Kelis's complaint that seems to be like flying under the radar is like, we've made celebrity culture so beyond critique that even the fundamental part of like what Beyonce did gets lost in people being like, oh, you're doing it for clout. Oh, you're doing it for attention. It's like, it's a very victim blaming like flood that happens when the stands come out, because they're like, Kelis said this and I found it really poignant. She was like, so y'all are saying I'm mad because she stole from my song? Like why?
Yeah.
Like I obviously am getting attention for something that I did.
Yeah.
So like, and you're making it because like I'm less famous or I'm less powerful, then I don't get to be mad, or that the thing I'm mad about is her fame and not about like my creativity being used. And it's like, people want art constantly, but not the artist, right? And they don't want the artist to feel anything from being invested in the art. And that's the part I really don't understand about like the current environment.
I mean, we've seen situations, and let's just even go a little further back as far as like criticism of Beyonce. We've seen it. We saw it when with Carrie Hilson. We saw it with Amory, when Amory, you know, Amory kind of invented this new style with Rich Harrison, and it was just so fresh to us. A lot of DC people had a familiarity with that go-go sound, and they just made it something that was like universal and worldwide. And it was just like, yo, what is this? And one thing was just, I mean, you could drop one thing right now in the club and it's still going to hit the same way that it did.
Oh, hell yeah.
And so Beyonce, not unlike other artists,
I'll take that.
You know, right? Exactly. Goes in and goes straight to the source. And of course, I don't fault Rich for that. That's a huge bag. And I mean, this is what I do. You know, I'm a producer,
right.
So he does what he has to do. But it's like, Amory was not, you know, she's not like, you can't gaslight people. She's not delusional for being hurt or feeling like something was stolen from her in that as well. Because that and her expressing that openly essentially kind of tabled her career.
Yeah, it really did. I mean, okay, do you know the story of Birkenstocks and Amazon?
I do not know.
Okay, so this is a really informative analogy. I'm gonna go into it. So artists like Beyonce and Drake are basically Amazon.com. They're Jeff Bezos and Amazon, in the sense that because their reach and their access to product, and this product is music in their case, is so vast, because they have both the capital to buy up the entire market and they have the access and the vision to see what's going on, to see what's bubbling, and actually just take it and kind of like mark it up or down based on what they want to do. So they can kind of like price fix the market. So Beyonce and Drake too, there are other artists, but Beyonce and Drake kind of stand out in urban music. What they can do is what Amazon did to Birkenstock. So Birkenstocks is a great sandal company, right? Like, you know, white people who eat granola and are vegan and have bumper stickers about coexist. They wear Birkenstocks and they're like, you know, they're pretty pricey sandals. You know what I mean? Like leather sandals with some buckles on them. They're very basic, but it's a signifier for white people. It's like a status signifier for like.
I think Birkenstocks are definitely, that's a status, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? And so Birkenstocks had like, you know, a great audience and a great reputation, and Amazon would notice that Birkenstocks sold really, really well on their own. What Amazon does is they take whatever your retail mechanism is, and they just duplicate it on Amazon.com, and then they undercut you on the price. So what they'll do is they'll buy up your whole supply. So what they did was they bought up all of Birkenstocks and they started selling them at, let's say, $1 cheaper on Amazon, right? Which completely destroys the original business, which is what it did to Birkenstocks. Like it basically made them cash poor, made them bankrupt. And they have your whole inventory, right? So they don't even need to like copy it, because on Amazon Basics, they'll copy your thing too and just like make a cheaper version of it and distribute it. But they don't even need to copy it, right? Like if they can buy you out, they can buy your entire supply, then you don't exist. There's no reason. And actually you end up working for Amazon, right? And it's ironic because this is what Jay-Z kind of did to Nas. He was like, yo, I'm just gonna buy you out. I'm gonna buy your catalog. And now whatever you do, I own the majority rights to it. And that is what someone like Beyonce does when they take an artist's work of that caliber, like an artist who's at a smaller level, right? There's a smaller market that they have control over, because you can see on social media right now today, Kelis is a very popular artist. She has very influential songs. So you can't
Kelis
weigh
is,
influence.
I don't even think people even realize how popular Kelis is on an international level as well.
You know what I'm saying?
Kelis can tour
Super
today.
popular.
Yeah.
I mean, and Milkshake, how many movies, commercials have you heard that song? Like, there's not one funny movie montage that doesn't start with Milkshake, right? Like from like the mid 2000s on, like there's wild Milkshake references. And in addition to Bossy, right? She has these iconic songs, right? And you can't buy influence, right? Or can you, right? When you're Beyonce, you can, because when you have a larger level of influence, even if you don't have creative influence or originality, you can buy it, right? And so what she's done to Kelis or other artists in her music is to say, I know I don't have what you have in big bold supply, but I'm gonna buy it out so that it almost makes it like you don't exist. Because to a 14-year-old girl who's not as familiar with Kelis, and this is the way that this sound or concept first hits her ears, she's gonna be like, "Oh, Beyonce did that. That's fresh."
That's all
and Kelis will be effectively erased from history because she did that.
I see this happen a lot with fashion as well, very specifically, like with style. And especially being in New York, what you'll see is when you go and hang out, like let's say on the Lower East Side, you're in Willie B, things like that, certain type of neighborhoods, Bed-Stuy, and you see this original fashion. And there's a lot of celebrities that kind of like to hang out within that world and to kind of absorb those original concepts. And they might even have they might sort of just put their people out there, get some feelers. Like what are they doing on the ground right now? So you got all these people in there, they're putting together concepts, and then you don't even realize that these are not really original thoughts. They're people they're taking from the environment, from where this actual originality or uniqueness actually lives and breathes. And then, like you said, it gets packaged up, and then we start crediting these people with this thought. But I wanted to actually give a sort of a more corporate example of what you were talking about when you were saying like the Birkenstock example. It made me think about places like Walmart. And Walmart, for one, we should, this is such a different kind of conversation now. So for one, you cannot have Walmarts within the boroughs of NYC. It's just, Walmart is not allowed to enter the market. It's something that they've tried to do. We're not having it. Like, they just cannot. So if you're gonna go to Walmart, you got to go to Long Island, you got to go upstate, that kind of thing. So Westchester, what have you. But you will not be able to go to a Walmart in Brooklyn. Not gonna happen. I don't see it happening. It will actually completely destroy the local market. That's just not, the city's not designed to be able to sustain in that way. But specifically in respect to your conversation about Birkenstock and Amazon, and how Amazon was able to reduce those prices, what they do is they reduce those prices, of course, to destroy your business model, but it also attracts you to buy something else. So it's like, while I'm here getting my cheap Birkenstocks, I can also, buy, my Amazon Fresh will be delivered in the same day, or I can buy, I'm here, I can get candy. I guess it's a one-stop shop depot. But I bring up the Walmart example because Walmart uses a particular strategy, and it's called loss leader pricing. So what Walmart will do is they'll have those TVs in the front, right? Maybe the TV costs them $300. They're supposed to charge customers $700, and that's just typically what the market would go for $700. And we can justify that for a 70-inch. But what Walmart will do is price that TV to maybe $298. That drives people into the store, and that's an extreme discount cut, right? So that would be like that's a Black Friday kind of thing, probably even. It drives people into the store, and then you start seeing that, okay, I got the TV. Well, since I'm here, let me get my clothes. Let me get, a microwave, the stuff for the garden. You end up spending. So while they might take a hit for that one thing, very few people are in and out with stores like that. So, when you came in to spend, they took a net loss and hit, but you ended up spending maybe $3,000, which you did not intend to do. And that is how they, for people that cannot sort of stick to, this is what I'm doing, that's exactly how these types of businesses thrive and how they put other people out of business. And that's why you can't have a mom and pop electronics store anymore. Very, very rare that people are going to do that.
I mean, and like, people are buying up this Ivy Park stuff with like the hopes that they'll get an invite to the Rock Nation brunch. You know what I mean? Like, with like the hopes that they'll be invited to dinner with Jay-Z. Like, it's not even an actual like exchange for something that these to offer. Like, because Beyonce does offer lots of expertise to artists. Jay-Z does offer a great model for how to go about your craft and get to the highest level. But it's not like that's included in this exchange. It's just the idea of it, right? Like the allure of their like brand successes of like Black billionaireism is what people are buying. And that allure, it doesn't amount to anything. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't, like those Ivy Park crop tops, they fall apart. They're fast fashion. So she doesn't even have to give you value for you to be buying into this thing that takes all the value from around you and from your community. And that is the other part where I'm like, man, people will be so excited to feed into that and not really get anything from it. So
you know something?
Yeah.
On a larger scale, this brings me right back to our conversation about the bishop. The bishop, right? And it's like people wanting so badly to be close to wealth, or thinking that it'll like rub off on them in some kind of way, that they're abandoning our reasoning and principle to just appear like they're down. And maybe, like you said, maybe this person will acknowledge me. So I guess it speaks to like our own self-esteem and, you know, our own issues within.
Koku, would you get the dinner with Jay-Z? Would you take the dinner with Jay-Z over the what's it, the 100K or whatever?
I think it's 100K.
Yeah.
I would not take the dinner with Jay-Z. I would take the 100K. I do not know what even you could gather over a dinner with Jay-Z, and I don't even know why. Why is that a question?
Yo, I mean, like, didn't he tweet from like, or didn't Title?
I think he
say like, nah, take the 100K.
Yeah, like somebody said Jay-Z take the 100K. It was so hilarious. Or I think it was Title, something like that. I mean, that doesn't make any sense, because what kind of elevator pitch is going on when we hungry? And you don't even know me at all in any capacity.
When we hungry.
We hungry, you know what I'm saying? I'm sitting here stuffing my face in mozzarella sticks. And you expect me to have within like 15 minutes something that's going to be so impressive to Jay-Z that he will personally hand me $100,000? I just don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know you. No.
He'll be silently like slicing up some filet mignon, like just like, word, yeah, tell me everything. Tell me everything. I'm about to take that idea. I'm about to take that great idea and fund it.
Exactly, right, which is, you know, kind of goes back to what we were talking about. But do you know how many people have to be pitching something to Jay-Z on a daily basis?
Oh my God.
And everybody thinks that one idea is better than the next. I mean, that has in and of itself be so exhausting to have to deal with. Like, oh my gosh, here we go again, you know.
Yeah. I mean,
socks for turtles, really? Oh, that's gonna get the bag. Yeah, okay.
Oh man, I mean, I do love this concept though of like, once all the billionaires are Black, we'll be good. I think the reason why I find that concept so crazy is like, people so greatly underestimate how much a billion is. Like, we treat $1 billion like it's hundreds of millions or like tens of millions. It's like, no, that is $1,000 million amounts. And like, that alone should tell you how much money Jay-Z doesn't want you to have. Because it's like,
doesn't want you to have
$1 billion, right? Like, yo, Marcy Projects shouldn't exist. Like, he has $1 billion, right?
Well,
those people don't have to pay rent. If he were really like, you know what, I'm gonna do this, and you could like make it a tax break. You have $1 billion.
No,
you don't have to have people pitching you. You could be like, yo, here's the bread, man. Like, just go have fun with it. Like, do something, start a business. I don't care. Buy a jet. Like, he has that amount of money.
I just thought that, speaking of the Marcy Projects, he had recently launched an initiative where they were going to give classes for people to get Marcy.
He's like, yo, here's a scholarship.
To learn about NFTs and crypto.
Oh my God. Oh my God. He's just looping people into the pyramid scheme so you get paid back.
Man, the way I don't even want to get into that conversation, but I'm just saying, man, if you wasn't down with that stuff, like, that is not the get rich quick path at all. But I've been telling people that for time immemorial.
It's Jay-Z's rush card. That's his rush card. You know what I mean?
Oh my God.
He's out here starting the new Rent-A-Center.
Yeah.
You be paying them forever. I mean, I think
you've been renting that big box TV for 15 years at $10 a week. You know?
You
don't
got
think
that ice box in your crib for 22 years now, ain't paid it
Yo,
off.
nah, it's only $8 a week. Come on now.
Man,
Get that thing out of here.
they're gonna have you paying for title with a token, with a non-fungible token till you dead.
Yo, yeah.
Oh man, what's so
I
crazy
can't
is
deal with
like,
it.
oh shit, like Tyler Perry, Oprah, now Jay-Z and Beyonce, like just cancel the pod. Like we never, like if any of them get wind of how we're talking to people, is like, hey, they're not gonna get you rich. They don't care about you. It's gonna be like, hey, I need them to buy my movies and my albums. You better shut up.
No. There's one billionaire we didn't speak bad about.
Wait, who?
LeBron.
Oh yeah. No, he's good by me. LeBron's
good,
good
yeah.
by me. You know what I'm
Hey,
saying?
billionaire LeBron, you are my pal. That's all right.
Exactly. Yeah, we're cool. We'll always be cool. Let's get Bronny and Bryce in the league, and I'm your loyal customer for another 30 years. Like I don't care. Like LeBron can do no wrong in my eyes.
Yeah, I'm not mad at LeBron. Anybody else? I don't know what you're doing over there.
Yeah, I mean he might be making them sneakers in Vietnam for pennies on the dollar, but I'm still going to get a pair of LeBron 6s.
You know what I was thinking about, and I don't know if you saw that picture, but Kylie Jenner and Travis Scott had taken a picture, and it within frame is both of their private jets. This is like weeks ago, I guess. Yeah, maybe not even a month ago. It was pretty recently. And Kylie, she captions it. What should we take? Like, yours or mine? I'm like, motherfucker, we broke. Like, what are you doing?
It's like, what?
I see this shit, bitch. Like, what's going on?
Yo, I'm about to refill my Metro card.
Right, like, I'm not counting your money. Like, I'm not on that type of time. But it's like, yo, do you know who? Like, I'm literally about to walk 50 miles a day. Like, what is going on with you? And
that Uber walk option. Have you ever seen the walk option pop up on Uber? That's for me. You know what I'm saying?
Right. They'd be like, okay, just walk like 8 blocks and you're gonna save like $3. That's gonna work. Like I'm on it. So I was just looking at that and I was laughing, but then I thought about it because this is just when you just as we're talking about this, I was like, everybody, of course, but there were a lot of people who had a very negative reaction to that. Like, really? Like, we're out here, like a lot of people are unemployed, we're in the middle of some BS, monkeypox is all around us and all kinds of pandemics. And you guys are talking about private jets. But I wonder if people would have had the same reaction had Beyonce and Jay-Z did the same flex.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
What is it about
Beyonce?
Right. So what is it about we have to get to the root of this. What is it about Beyonce and Jay-Z that they can be so ostentatious if they wanted to be? They can rap about all the things that they have. What is it about them that makes them just so like it's just like an impenetrable like membrane or force field?
I have a theory. I have a
theory. Okay, what's your theory?
All right, so Jay-Z, when Beyonce linked with Jay-Z, I think that permanently connected her to the people and connected him to like pop stardom. So
yes,
the cred that she gains from being connected to the people is now like bulletproof. And even though she's never led a life like the people, she could talk about break my soul, quit your job. Like she could, I've been working hard. Like she could talk about all that because Jay-Z gave her like that stamp of like, I was poor. So like she knows what poverty is like through me. And that means she's like you. It's like a selling point now for her. And so I think between him being kind of like an underdog, unlikely story and her being like, I'm connected to him and that story, that has made them, I think, like unreasonably popular and beyond critique. That actually made me want to bring up, because you were talking about how many people Beyonce's put in the grave, like, you know what I'm saying, A. Marie, Mary Hilson, she's ended some careers. And I think the reason that doesn't get brought up is because she's like Cersei on Game of Thrones, like at first, where she was like, I'll still walk among the people. Like I'm gonna be on the throne, like, and I'll be carried, but I'll walk among you. You know what I mean? And like, I think that even that, like just throwing crumbs, like the Kelis thing, throwing crumbs, like being willing to walk about us. And like, now I'm dropping on Netflix. Oh, and like, aren't you so happy? I dropped my album you can pay for, surprisingly. Like though, and a thank you note, like people don't look at those things as condescending or patronizing because of her connection to Jay-Z, because of her connection to, honestly, like the broken relationships that come from the patriarchy that like a lot of Black women relate to. She's like, yeah, I have one of those. Like, I think those are two really major things that keep her connected, even though she doesn't experience them in the same like terrible way that we often experience those things.
So Beyonce saying like, yeah, he cheated on me. Yeah, girl, I can relate to that. Like, it's, you know,
Yep.
stuff like that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. I got I got a dusty broke ass in here too, fucking messing up my life. Because like you see the conversations when she drops an album, like people are like, oh, so, I didn't even have to hear Jay on it once, and you know, like why she had to bring him on the tour. It's like that kind of like commiserating thing when it's like that's not what their life is like. They have conflicts and stuff too, but she's not like, you know, she's not waiting on a child support check. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing. she's not worried about her EBT card getting stolen. Like he's
Right.
good. They're definitely good in that part of their lives. And so, but they definitely create, like they cosplay that for their fans.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, like sort of cosplaying relatability.
Oh, absolutely, hugely so. And they're Black. You know, they are. They are and Jay-Z specifically, let's be real. Jay-Z specifically is unabashedly Black. He has Black features. He has a Black story. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, he does.
Beyonce could rock with the blonde tresses and that. She hasn't had a typical Black life, is what I'll say.
No, I mean, and again, I don't take anything away from somebody that has had a special type of privilege. Beyonce grew up in a 2-parent home. Yep. They grew up in a beautiful, have you seen their family house? It's a beautiful house. It's beautiful. Oh, yeah. Her father was very successful on his own. Yes. Her mother owned a beauty salon. Like, this is not the type, they came from a type of Black wealth. Yes. That is something that's aspirational to many, yes. You know? So for her to have gotten to this place too, there's nothing to take away from that, you know, from that beginning to this. It's something that just seems beyond even like that can be achieved. You know, that's a real 1 in a million, billion type of thing. But when you talk about Jay-Z, that's truly rags to riches, and he has that sort of hood story. Yes. Like, you know, grew up. I mean, I don't know if he was like kingpin on the levels that, you know, you obviously raps, you know, you want him to sort of make things very grandiose. Sure. But he did have that kind of rags to riches story. He just happened to really be really poetically very, very talented.
Listen,
and was able to make a way.
Don't sleep. He lost 92 bricks. You know what I'm saying? Like he could sell water to a well. Oh my God.
So listen, all I'm saying is that I think what I'm trying to get at too is that both of their stories are Black American stories.
Yes.
In different types of ways. And I guess that's probably why, if we're to kind of get to that, as I was pondering about that sort of that Collie and Travis post, that's probably why people are more accepting. You know, that's
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I didn't think about that.
That plays into the Kelis thing too, because like Kelis, if I were to think about the types of Black girl that relate to her, and even who she's speaking to with her music, her attitude, just like her very unique style, it's a smaller niche than the types of Black girl that Beyonce is speaking to. Like she's like, true. You know, like colored hair, shave the side of the head type, you know what I mean? Like they're like pan, you know what I'm saying? Like they have a lot of different like sort of alternative identity traits than the typical Black girl, which is why Kelis is probably cooler with Solange. Like Solange is that set. You know what I mean?
Solange, would be hanging with the Kelis. And Solange, you know, also
quartz crystal, you know what I'm saying? They're doulas out here.
Solange is the type of person she'll walk through Brooklyn and she doesn't need like an army of people around her. She's I feel like she's kind of very deliberately made herself relatable. She doesn't seem to be interested in that type of fame. Just pretty cool.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's cool. And she'll buy the songs and the songwriters too and credit them, but she's not gonna make it out to be like, I'm this all encompassing, like I did the whole creative process by myself. And I think that's the
thing I like about Solange is that we've been introduced to people and she's brought people onto projects that that may not have had such a look. So it's really cool to see her bring those people in, or even to have the ear or the type of circle that can even allow her to be introduced to those kinds of persons. So there's a healthy way of going about that. I guess when you talked about Rihanna's Anti, I thought about that, where to me that's healthier in the sense where that's such a good album, and the influences and what she pulled upon, or who, I mean, that kind of tells you that Beyonce, that tells you that Rihanna probably has some really cool like musicians around her that can show her. Yeah. Mhm.
And also, I'll never forget, she's also a billionaire. So she's still implicated in some of these things. You know what I mean? Like Barbados could be like very good if Rihanna was just like, you know what, I'm going to set up a trust that is like indefinite. That's based on my catalog to make sure every single child in Barbados has free education through college. Like she could do that right now with her money and influence. Will she? That's a whole nother story. Do people have to be that?
Is she? I don't know. I've seen a lot of stuff. Rihanna does a lot for Barbados, and she's very involved. Yeah, I mean, I think that she kind of, it's so interesting because she has, I mean, on a much grander scale, she has that kind of immigrant story. A lot of people are always like, let me send a barrel back home. Let me send some money back home. Make sure so-and-so has their school fees. Make sure so-and-so, has some place to live. So when I see just the stuff that we're exposed to, it seems like Rihanna has those same kind of principles, which we're all, we're familiar with. If you have a like if you're a first generation child, you see that insistence that we have to sort of give something and send them back something.
Yes. I mean, I guess this makes me wonder, in your opinion, where does Kelis land after this kind of, like, will it disappear in the news cycle? Will it hurt Kelis that she spoke out like this? Like, where does she land after all of this blows over?
I don't think that just Kelis's initial visceral reaction to the news kind of tells us that she doesn't care. And so I guess if the question is where does she land, I think Kelis is exactly where she wants to be. I don't know to what extent music is a large part of her life. It does seem like her cooking and her farming and that portion of her life seems to be really something that's bringing her a lot of happiness and fulfillment. I don't know if if she's so disillusioned with the music industry that she's not interested in music, or if she's just not right now. But even if Kelis was trying to do something, and as far as a new project now, the typical Beyonce fan is not the typical Kelis fan.
No.
They don't always necessarily meet in the middle, and I don't think that Kelis would be losing anything in terms of her own base. Yeah, so it kind of, it's an interesting conversation to have, and maybe it does put more eyes on her. So sure, she's getting more spins right now. So hey, thanks for the money, I'm sure she's saying, but I don't get the impression that Kelis is in any jeopardy in terms of anything she's doing.
Okay, but what about another player in this whole controversial scandal, Pharrell? Like, where does he net after this? Because I feel like his name got smeared in a way that maybe he hadn't gotten before, and he's built up a lot of goodwill for seemingly bad behaviors.
Yeah, I have always been under the impression, at least just from what we've been exposed to or what we think we know about Pharrell, seems like Pharrell is very well liked in the industry. People, he makes songs like Happy, and Kelis kind of was touching on that too, like, I guess so happy.
She really pulled no punches.
No, she was pissed. She was pissed. But I don't know. Like, I don't know if this is something that's like brewing from many years ago. Is it something that Pharrell is supposed to make right? What happened there? Is there wasn't there a bit of a story? And I hate to kind of go this route, but wasn't there some sort of romantic thing going on at some time?
I mean, that is definitely rumored, and it complicates things, certainly.
Yeah, I just only want to say that it kind of, it complicates the relationship, and it makes it where sometimes it's irreparable, like we don't know what happened with them or what route that took her, or where after her dealings with him, maybe he did something that kind of blacklisted her where she had to rebuild. I just don't know why she would feel that way towards him, but they had some sort of relationship, even if it was only professional. Something in that was enough that Kelis just ain't trying to be, affiliated with this. And she said that he made a very strong and shocking claim in saying that he was putting his name on things that he didn't write. So I don't know what that means in Pharrell's universe, because he's continued to be successful. So I don't know.
So the Marvin Gaye estate, right? Didn't they win?
I think they won
suit against him and Robin Thicke, right? So I feel like
I believe
like
they did, and that was
there's
like
definitely smoke there. There's definitely smoke
yeah.
to that fire, and I don't think that anyone at that level is like endlessly creative or without influence or without some borrowing that happens. Now, whether or not you can credit or attribute everything that comes into your ear, that's another story. I'm not sure that's even possible. Like if that's mentally possible to trace all the ways you're influenced as a music artist or as an artist in general. And that's a place where I want to give Beyonce some grace, because I do feel like when you are that big of an artist, you might not even remember all the ways that you're influenced. And then it becomes this kind of like, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy about people saying you're going to steal things, because you're like, yo, I mean, I listen to music too. You know what I mean? Like I'm going to be influenced if I take things in. But I think the thing that sometimes bothers people about a Pharrell or even like a Lauryn Hill, like Lauryn Hill is known for miseducation of Lauryn Hill, right?
Yes.
And we now know, after however many years, however many tardy tour stops and late appearances at shows, and the fact that she has not produced an album of that caliber since, we know that
not even unplugged. I mean, there was some real like shoddy guitar work on that, and it was
right.
just, yeah.
Right. But what I think that did was it exposed like some of your faves are not who you think they are in terms of the construction of the art. And when people who like the band that won the suit against Lauryn Hill,
I believe it was Robert Glasper went in.
Right. So it's like
yeah.
So multiple instances of people who spoke up against a larger artist and said, hey, this isn't fair. And the initial reaction from the public, and that's why I respect Kelis for feeling pissed and for saying that this is ignorant. The initial reaction from the public is to side with power, is to side with like what they think is more powerful or somehow like deserved power. And oftentimes, like case after case, you see like, yeah, like you said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like those songs didn't create themselves, and when people deserve to be credited, you should credit them. You know what I'm saying? Like that karma is not gonna go away. Like it's gonna
wouldn't even
find
feel
a way
good
to
doing
surface.
That. Yeah. And that bishop is not about to buy you no Fendi glasses. Y'all need to calm down. I'm just like, yo, I'm so disappointed in people right now. Like all this, like he ain't sent nothing to your Cash App, please.
Oh man, I'm wondering too, like, okay, if Beyonce responds to Kelis, what will she say? There's nothing in it for Beyonce to say anything, obviously, right? But if she were to take the route of like, I respect this Black woman as a courtesy, I will respond. What will she say? Will that response be public or private? Like, how do you think Beyonce handles this?
Something would probably be done in private, but the thing is, we know Kelis, or what we think we know of Kelis, as someone that she's probably going to be like, you did it publicly, so you need to apologize publicly. So she would call out the bullshit, and she would tell us, do y'all know that Beyonce called me? The way someone like Beyonce would probably respond to it is by removing the record from the album completely, and there'd just be silence in it, just like a silent acknowledgement. I don't want to
deal with it.
Yeah. Right. I don't think that we would ever get anything. We didn't even get anything from Beyonce during the controversy with the elevator. Who has she ever spoken to about that book?
Never.
So you're not getting anything. Like if you're, Beyonce's not. She's not.
You're not getting anything free. You're not getting anything free.
You're not. Yes. You know and you're not. I mean, even with the restructuring and rehiring and reorganization of Destiny's Child. In the beginning,
restructuring. You said the restructuring.
In the beginning, you kind of got a little bit of a glimpse when Beyonce did a little bit more, which was a little more vocal, beyond just being on stage and doing what she does. But we never really truly went. How did Beyonce apologize in that sense? During one of her tours, when she's when she's doing one of her sets, she actually has photos of the other Destiny's Child members, and she pays some sort of homage. Exactly. I ain't see Farrah's picture on there anywhere, but as far as the other girls, she paid respect, because there's a lot in hindsight too. Maybe Beyonce doesn't quite understand either what's happening right now,
Yeah, I don't
Maybe she
know. I
doesn't
think
know.
she understands it, knows it's wrong. It's just like, yo, stop me. Like, stop me if you can. Like,
Oh,
I feel like
that's if that's the energy, that's wicked. I hope that's not how she's thinking.
I don't know. It's like it's hard
I
to
don't know. Yeah.
yeah, it's hard to like ascribe any of these things to her. I could see your take being true where she's like, yo, I'm trying to help homegirl out. Like I thought I could imagine her being upset, being like, yo, I was trying to help homegirl out. Like
that is how I immediately thought about, like, how would a person that did this defend themselves? And that's the immediate thing that I came up with.
And also, like you said, like how would a person who is completely out of touch handle this situation, right? Which is like to say you believe that the only way to it's like add an extra 20% on the driver's salary and like he won't say anything about the argument we had in the limo. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of how those things are handled, I imagine. But it's I don't know. With Beyonce, I want to believe that she is not malicious in so doing. I've seen a couple of great TikTok videos and others that talk about how much credit she gives. She's like a Kendrick Lamar type artist where it's like, if you've done even a small thing, I'm going to throw that credit on there.
They talk about Beyonce and Jay-Z also contributing to people's bails during the protests. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
I mean, Dreamhampton, right? Dreamhampton was actually pretty vocal about that stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that they do that we just don't know about. And from their perspective, just at least it's nice to see people who are philanthropic but very healthy about it, and not just jumping outside the window saying, "Look at me, this is what I'm doing."
Which is funny though. Like it's funny we're saying that we don't know about it, but we know about it.
We know. Exactly. You're like, yeah, as soon as it drops. Jay-Z calling Dream, hey, yo, Dream, tell him how I did this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for checking out the Unhinged podcast with Koku Puff and Drew Beez. If you like what you see, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell.